Shalom.
So it is our deep, deep pleasure to introduce to everyone today Jill Stein. I learned by listening to her on the radio yesterday that fully half of Americans do not identify as either Democrats or Republicans. So Jill Stein is going to come and offer an alternative. We are so grateful to have a presidential candidate for the Green Party to join this demonstration. Thank you, Jill.
Thank you so much. Thank you all so much for being here and for lifting up the future that we deserve and that is entirely possible. Happy Halloween, everybody. And let's, in honor of Halloween, let's ensure that this zombie economy that we have is a thing of the past. In my experience, the workers don't want this any more than the people do. All of us need an economy that works for all of us. We have not only a crisis in our economy, we have a crisis in our environment and our climate, and we have a crisis in global peace and security. And those crises are kind of converging right now. We have an incredible deficit of jobs and wages. We have a foreign policy that is gobbling up half of our national budget and yet has created 5 failed states in the Middle East and a growing threat of terrorism and 60 million refugees worldwide. This is a foreign policy that's not working, and it's an economy that's not working, and it's a climate which is in grave jeopardy. You may have heard recently that they're now predicting just a few decades for us to change course. Just a few decades before we see, for example, 10 feet of sea level rise. When Pearl Harbor was bombed back in 1941, we declared a national emergency. And we changed the economy almost overnight. Within 6 months, the economy had converted to a wartime footing as part of that war effort. Well, now we're looking at something that makes Pearl Harbor look like small potatoes, in fact, because we're going to have Pearl Harbors all over the world. If we're seeing a 10-foot sea level rise in the next couple of decades, we're going to be dealing with catastrophic consequences, not only in our harbors, but in our cities and our coastlines, and creating the kind of refugee crisis, a crisis in energy, a crisis in trade in our economy that's just not survivable. My background, as you may know, is as a medical doctor. I'm now practicing political medicine because it's the mother of all illnesses, and we got to fix this one before we fix everything else that's literally killing us. But as a medical doctor, it's my job to say when we have an emergency and when we have a crisis. This is an emergency, but fortunately, we have the fix for it. We can convert to jobs that are healthy for workers, jobs that are healthy for our communities, jobs that are great for our economy and our planet. For every dollar that we're spending on a fossil fuel job, we can be creating 3 jobs in a green economy. We can convert our war factories into factories for wind towers and for geothermal and for solar plants and for public transportation. So there is a fix, and there's not only a fix, there's an urgent and dire necessity to move. So I really applaud those of us who are here today. Thank you so much for lifting up the better world that we can have. And I really encourage those on the other side of the street to not be afraid to stand up for the jobs that you deserve, for the economy you deserve, and for the world of peace that we deserve. The way forward right now is not for more war. These wars that have cost us $5 trillion in the last decade, that have killed over 1 million people in Iraq alone, and that have created 60 million refugees, which the world just can't tolerate. We have to fix this problem at its root. In doing so, we can create a world that puts people, planet, and peace over profit, This is a world that's available to us the minute we stand up with the courage of our convictions. Part of this world, I should just add, this one last thing. There are 40 million young people out there who are in debt, who are in college debt right now. If they hear, if word should get out that they can cancel their debt, like we canceled it for the banks, you may remember, we found a way to forgive the bankers who crashed the economy. Well, we can forgive the young people who've been victimized by that crash. And in fact, that is a real stimulus for the economy. So if word gets out to those 40 million young people that they can come out and cancel their debt by voting green in the upcoming election in 2016, they know how to get that word out. They're pretty well networked. And 40 million people, you may want to know, is enough to actually win a three-way race. So it's not like it's hopeless. It's not like we're powerless. They would like us to believe that. In the words of Alice Walker, the biggest way people give up power is by not knowing we have it to start with. If we begin together to put together this broad coalition for justice, for economic justice, for racial justice for workers, and for justice for people around the world, and the peaceful economy we can have, we can win this election and we can win the future. It's as simple as standing up for the greater good and forgetting the lesser evil. It's time for us to stand up. Once we do that, the minute we stand up with the courage of our convictions, we do have the numbers that it takes to go forward. We have the solutions, we have the values, and I want to thank everyone here today for being a part of that vision of the future that the world is beginning to rally behind. It's all about getting the word out, because 50% of voters are not Democrats or Republicans. 60% of voters are actually clamoring for a new independent party that actually is of, by, and for the people, not the big banks, not the fossil fuel corporations, and not the war profiteers. You put us together as a coalition for justice, and we are unstoppable. That better world is within our reach. We can create a world that puts people, planet, and peace over profit. It's not just in our hopes. It's not just in our dreams. It's right here, right now. It's in our hands. Thank you all so much.
There are others all around, scattered throughout the town. Reach out and you will see your numbers swell to 3. We can do it, yes we can. We can change things throughout the land, but we all must lend a hand. We can do it, oh yes